Well, hey there, entrepreneurs. Welcome to 30 days of the Canon M50. If you haven't already downloaded the free PDF guide on the first video, that's just about a minute long, make sure you go back to the beginning of the series, get that free PDF on the best settings for video for the Canon M50. But otherwise, let's jump into today's video. What is up, guys, and welcome back to the series. Now, thank you guys so much for your overwhelming support and questions for the Canon M50 series thus far, but I decided to go ahead and replace another video that I had planned to actually do more of a Q&A type session for this particular video, because I have gotten tons of you guys' questions, really great questions, and just some common concerns when it comes to the Canon M50, especially if you're actually considering purchasing this specific camera. And this is my live streaming setup, so a lot of you guys have had questions about how this works and using the USB and all kinds of things like that. So today I want to talk about the top 7 questions, some really great questions and concerns that I have gotten for the M50 from you guys. So let's jump into it. All right, first question asks, does the Canon M50 capture the sound, or do you have another workaround for the audio when you live stream? So I actually am using my exact live streaming setup right now, my ATR 2100 microphone, the USB method that I shared, and I'll link that up in the video up above. Everything, how about this? Everything that I mentioned, I will link up above if I'm referencing a previous video. So what I'm doing is using an external microphone because there's no way to pull the audio from the M50. We're not actually recording any, sound that is being necessarily picked up by the microphones, or even the monitors in the microphone are not being captured in any way, nor do I believe it is a way to capture it using the USB method or the HDMI method. So if you have, where you bought the creator kit, or you got something, a microphone like this that you already own, or the Movo shotgun microphone that I actually, would prefer over that one, that has a TRS to TRRS, and basically it is a cable that will let you connect your phone and the microphone together. Now, that already comes in the Movo package. It doesn't come in the creator kit for the M50, but that Movo microphone is about $30. I'll link it down below. But you'll want to connect that part with the 3 lines in it. You want to connect that into the actual computer. If you're using a Mac, I know it'll work. I'm not sure about a PC, but you can try it, because all PCs are slightly different, and some come with 2 ports, one for a headphone, one specifically for a microphone. So you really got to check your specific laptop. But when it comes to the Macs, I know that those are able to do it. So if you do want to take a microphone like this, then what you'll do is the one with 2 lines, you want to plug that into the actual microphone, and the one with 3 lines on the end, you can plug that into the headphone jack of the actual Mac or your particular PC, if it will accept microphones through the headphone port, if you don't want to purchase like a USB microphone. So that's the way that I've been able to find it, but I prefer the sound of this microphone, and I've had this since I started my original podcast, and I used it for my Entree Chats Daily podcast. So those are the only things that I know to do. Those are only 2 microphone options that you can use, even if you just have some like simple earbuds like this, just some regular, iPhone headphones with the mic in. You can plug that into your computer and use that, but you're going to need some kind of external audio if you're going to be using the M50 for video in your PC and all that stuff. All right, question number 2. Is there an everlasting battery for the Canon M50, or should you just have multiple charged batteries to switch out while streaming? So there actually is no such thing as an everlasting battery, or like they have some extended plus battery or anything like that. There is only, the actual Canon branded batteries, and then you have third-party branded batteries, which you'll get some good runtime for, but you won't get the exact 2 hours and 30 minutes that I found in my timing test with the regular Canon branded battery. So if you're going to go over 2 hours, then you're not going to want to use a battery. However, there is an AC or alternating current, which is what it stands for, basically a wall outlet outlet version that will be type of everlasting battery. Now, just to forewarn you, when I was going through my Vlogmas challenge, I actually did come across one of the third-party branded ones, because Canon does sell one. I think you're looking at about $84 to $89 if you're ordering that from Amazon, or even if you buy it from the camera store Adorama on Amazon. And I'll link those specific Canon branded ones, so they're very hard to find online, surprisingly, and I'll link that down below. But and I think you can get it the cheapest for about $77 plus shipping on Amazon. It's not included with Prime for whatever reason, but that one is kind of expensive. But that way you'll be able to take like what's called a dummy battery, plug that into your camera, and then you're plugging the adapter portion that's also connected into the wall. So I do have one coming. Should be here in the next couple days, and I'll be able to test it out, include that in the series so that you all can see how that works. So when that's available, I'll link that up in the YouTube card up above as well. But there is a specific brand that I will absolutely name and forewarn you against, because it did break the Canon M50 and shorted it out completely, and that was by a company called Glorich. And there are some other manufacturers out there that use probably the exact same one or one similar that they're buying from some main manufacturer, and it's a private label now that's purchasing that. The one I specifically dealt with, that company was called Glorich, and they were absolute trash. So I usually don't bash companies, full out like that, because things happen, or maybe you got a bad one. But it's just like such a trashy experience. I really would tell you it's not worth it. Or the $245 repair bill from Canon. Sometimes Canon doesn't cover those kinds of things when you're using third-party batteries or adapters or other equipment that may damage your camera. Sometimes that kind of stuff is not covered in the warranty. So if you're buying your camera brand new, then please be careful of that. You're taking, even though I may take those chances, that's me, that's my business. But for you guys, you have to make that decision for yourselves, and if you're willing to incur those costs potentially for the savings of a few dollars. All right, question number 3. Can you plug in the USB on the M50 for charging during camera recording? I wish this was the case, but unfortunately, the Canon M50 cannot do that. Even though it may be plugged up, it doesn't work like a phone, or some other cameras are now including that. And I hope that maybe the next M50 Mark II or the M60 or M70 or whatever they come out with, I'm hoping that they actually, include that in the next or future generations. But right now, the answer is no. The only way to get some different powering options is to get more Canon branded batteries, or, talk about that actual Canon adapter like I just did in the last question. All right, so question number 4. How long is the recording time limit, and how long if going live without recording? So that's actually what I'm doing right now. And during this method, this USB method that I use, I don't have any recording limit whatsoever. I can literally record continuously using Ecamm Live that I'm using as the encoding software. And I'm going to be testing out one by Streamlabs OBS, not the open broadcast software system that most people are familiar with, but I'll be testing that out on my PC to try to get a PC version for this setup to better help our PC community users. But right now, all I know is Mac and that setup. But as far as I can tell you, no time limit. You can record and do video for as long as you have battery life. And if you get that adapter, then for the M50, then you're able to record for as long as you need to. So if you had a 3-hour talk or something like that, or training series maybe, or some kind of speaking engagement, whatever, then you could literally set up your computer or whatever, maybe even a tablet. I'm curious to test that out. But, and actually able to just continuously record. However, when you're actually, and I mean capturing content, not actually hitting the record button. So that's something to know. You're not actually hitting the record button when you're streaming with the M50. It's just capturing the information from what the camera is receiving, okay? So when you're actually hitting the record button, as if I'm picking it up and walking in the park or what have you, there is a 30-minute recording limit. All of Canon's cameras, mine is probably some of their cinema cameras, or even, the handheld, soccer mom type cameras. Those maybe have unlimited recording time limits, but you're not going to get that with the M50. But that's what you're looking at as far as like how the recording works per se with all that stuff. All right, question number 5. What type of HDMI does the M50 have? So the M50 uses what's called the micro HDMI. So there's really just like 3 different types, and you'll have the full HDMI port, which is as large as it can be. Then you will have the medium range size, which is a pretty decent size. It's the mini one. And then you have the micro. And so it kind of puts you in the mindset versus, regular full size USB-A, like the big square one, versus the, USB-C or the USB micro. It kind of works the same way with HDMI. And it doesn't change, to my knowledge or my understanding or from my personal use. It does not affect how well or, full HDMI being better quality than a micro, HDMI port. But the difference does make when those cables are, hanging out from the camera. Regular HDMI ports or cables have known to be very heavy, fairly thick, and those ports don't, they just don't hold up all that well. That's why I suggest that L-shaped adapter one. And the way that the M50 is set up, if you're using the USB, maybe for whatever reason using the HDMI as well, then it angles it out and down, so it is minimizing as much possible stress from that port and from the camera as much as possible to give you more longevity on that. So I'll link that down below as well. But use that L-shaped one. It's just going to come out a little bit and go straight down, keeps it out of the way, and also helps to save on the stress that gets put on the ports. And like most phones, that port gets loose, phone becomes pointless, or you got to get it repaired. So same thing with that. All right, question number 6. Really like this one. So is the Speedbooster really necessary if you have just the 15-45 kit lens? Now, if you were keeping up with the Vlogmas video and one of my previous videos here in the M50 series, then I picked up the Viltrox Speedbooster. And what that does is it has a glass element that goes between the camera and the lens to basically widen the field of view, or how far the camera can see or how wide it can see, so that instead of the camera being super duper close, I'm able to get a closer image to what would look like a full frame. The M50's kit lens, this 15-45 lens, is actually not going to fit this adapter that we're referencing at all. It's not built for it. The adapter that I'm using, and I'm actually using it currently with a 35mm lens that would typically fit on a full frame camera like the Canon 6D Mark II, that will never fit directly. This will never fit directly on the camera, nor with this 35mm lens directly fit on the camera. Is it necessary? Absolutely not. I usually suggest most people just getting started in video at least go some months with using the kit lens, because you can buy some of everything of what everybody recommends on YouTube and still not produce professional video, or still not produce essentially good video. And that's kind of like a hard pill to swallow. It's like, well, I got all the stuff, but it's like putting on LeBron James basketball gear, his shoes, his everything or whatever, and then you get out on the court and essentially you throw the ball at the basket and it bounces back at you. So same kind of concept. So it's not really necessarily the lens. Lenses help to prove the aesthetics, like getting some blurry background or something like that, or being able to have a brighter image with the lens based on the aperture in darker scenarios. So it does help with those types of things. However, it will not necessarily improve much more than that. So keep the kit lens for a while, get used to using it at all of those different focal ranges. And then if you feel like it, or you want to kind of experiment and get better looking images and stuff like that, you can try that out. So that Speedbooster really helps to help me regain some of that distance that I otherwise would have to have between myself and the camera. All right, last question number 7. This only works with Mac. What about Windows? This is in reference to, again, recording live using the USB method, and I can see how that can be pretty frustrating, especially if you are a PC user, as I was for many years. I'll link it up above as well and in the description down below. there is somebody, another creator on YouTube, that will show you how to use the USB method for live streaming just like this, but instead of using a Mac, you can use a different encoding software like OBS. Now, if you're new to all this camera stuff, like most of you guys probably are, I must say that that open broadcast software system that they're going to be showing is fairly difficult, and it's not like most softwares that I would typically recommend, where it's as simple as you need it to be, easy to understand, but it can become more complex over time as you need it to be. It's something to grow with. OBS has a lot of functionality and a lot of capabilities, but it is quite the steep learning curve, and it can definitely take you some time to fully learn how to use the software as a whole, beyond knowing just a few things that they may show you. Regardless, like I said, the video that they're sharing is good, and it will help you if you are a PC based user. However, I just personally can't take you through that route. It's not something that I use, and I'm not even interested in trying to figure that out for that one. But I am looking into a more easier, user friendly for beginners type setup, and as soon as I get the full deets on that, then you guys will have that as well. So unfortunately, I can't give you like my help, but I can get you the help that you need. So hopefully this answered a lot of the common questions that you may be having, or even just have been curious about when it comes to the Canon M50 and all the different things that you can do with this little camera. I've been pleasantly surprised from the time that I have had it up until now, especially with the addition of this Viltrox Speedbooster. It just literally is blowing my mind every time I'm using it. So hopefully these questions help you out, and if you have any more, you can link those down below. And if we need to do a part 2 with some different questions, let me know what you guys want to see. I'd be glad to tag that along, and instead of it being 30 days of the Canon M50 or 30 videos, we'll do 31 to add those in there. But as always, guys, live with passion, and hopefully this helped out.